Hey Joe,
Hey, Aaron.
how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm excited because folks just saw the sponsored by Finsweet and you are kind of Finsweet. So the man behind everything that looks nice on this stream. Excited. This is like a first for many reasons. So I'm quite excited, but would love to let me know folks who are joining. Let me know in the chat. Say hi. We've got Joe from Finsweet. Uh, um, yeah, I don't know. There's so much to kind of say here, but maybe we'll start with Joe. How about you introduce yourself for folks who aren't aware of the legend just yet?
Sure. My name is Joe Krug. I am the founder of Finsweet. We are a 25-person Webflow exclusive development agency. And I got interested in Airtable from Aron. I knew very little about Airtable, just heard chatters. And I found Aron. I saw some videos about Airtable and I was hooked right away. And I said, we got to work with this guy, Aron. I want to get more involved in this space. So being on the show is very nice for me too. It's something that I've wanted to do since I first saw Aaron on video. So I'm pretty pumped myself.
Yeah. No, this is kind of I don't know how to say this, like a full circle moment in the sense of I don't think we would have the stream in this shape, looking good week in and week out, both without like your team's help in terms of like making everything look nice, but also in terms of like use cases. So I think a lot of the what we've built together over the past couple of months, is almost like inspiration for coming on these streams. So I always appreciate doing that. I'd love to like we've got someone from Perth, Australia. Amazing.
Nice.
That's so cool.
Nice.
Yeah,
Good
maybe
morning.
give a little morning. Yeah, the future is here. Maybe speak a little bit to like what for folks. I know a lot of folks know what you do in terms of Webflow, but maybe talk a little bit about like what are the struggles of running an agency, and why. What tools were you looking for? What prompted all of this? That would be a good start.
Sure. I love to do exactly what I want. If I have a vision for how a process should work, I want to do that exact process exactly how I have envisioned. So we were on different invoicing platforms in the past. We were on different other platforms on the past. And when you're on a platform that focuses on this invoicing or focuses on employees, you have to follow their rules and their processes. So when I found Airtable and I saw the power of Airtable, that's when I thought, okay, maybe we could start building our own processes. And that's how I got hooked onto Airtable and how I got hooked onto automating all the things, how I got hooked on making things more efficient
Right.
at Finsweet. And as we grew, or as we are growing, we need this type of stuff. So
Right.
I got really interested in it very fast.
The funny part is like you think I'd be paying Joe to come on the stream and say all these things, but actually like Joe provides me a ton of value and yet still comes on the stream and is like, Airtable is amazing. We're automating all the things. So I promise folks like this is a weird and that, Joe helps me if anything. So it's exciting. And I think for most people, I think out there, when they think of a process, they do imagine it and hoping that it works the way they imagine it to. Unfortunately, we kind of try to square our processes into our tools. And now there's this opportunity where we can actually make our tools work for us, at least in like a 95% way. It's not perfect. It takes a little bit of learning but we can mold whatever is out there to what we want to do. Right. And I think for you, having seen that, I remember we had conversations of like, how to use a form and then building some simple processes all the way to today. I think managing all of your voice invoices, if not all of your processes the way you want to. Talk a little bit for folks who are maybe not there in terms of, their knowledge or what path did you take to like from start to finish of like now all of our processes are the way we want them to be.
Sure. And I'll talk specifically about the invoicing because that's what
Right.
we're
Sure.
going to cover today, the
Yeah.
invoicing process on Airtable. When I first started Finsweet, it was just me. there was no process. I didn't even think about process. My first thought was, how do I get my client to pay me? PayPal was the
Pretty
quickest
important.
way to
Yeah,
that.
pretty
Yeah,
important.
this is the quickest way. PayPal is pretty plug and play. They have an invoicing system. It's free to use. It worked. And it worked probably for a year. And then it got to a point where it was not working. Their filtering and sorting 3 years ago was absolutely terrible. As we were sending second and third invoices to people, we couldn't find the original ones. And I said, we got to get off PayPal. This is breaking our system. So then we moved to Wave, Wave Financial, and it's a much better system. And when we moved to Wave, I said, this is much better. This may have been a year and a half ago, and it was much better. But still, even that first week of using Wave, I said, this is not what we need. This is not the right setup. It's an improvement, but this is going to break very fast, and I'm already getting frustrated in the first week. So I was searching for all these other options and ways to do this, and nothing seemed to be correct. Nothing was exactly how I wanted. So I find Aron, I see a video from somewhere, and I saw another one and saw another one. And I said, okay, maybe the invoicing system can be built on this. Maybe some of our other systems can be built on this. But before I make that decision, I have to learn Airtable. I have to learn Zapier. At this point, I had never used Zapier before. I had never used Airtable before. Year and a half ago also.
Right.
So I spent probably 4 weeks nonstop at the end of work around 4 or 5, 6 o'clock, every single night, just pounding on Airtable.
My
learning
God.
everything.
You don't need that much
loved
time.
it.
I
was like addicted. I was building all these flows and like even things that we didn't really need just for practice, for trying to understand. Right. And I felt like I mastered the platform in that month.
Right.
And I said, all right, let's give this invoice system a try. And went ahead, built the invoice system exactly how we wanted. It works, and we are rocking so hard with this setup, and I just cannot see us moving away from this. It has scalability, it has flexibility, and yeah, I'm just so happy about being on Airtable for invoicing.
Yeah. Again, not paid. This is not an ad. I wish. No, and it's been fun. I remember we were chatting and kind of mapping your processes, and it's really cool that you're here. And this is actually the first time on the stream where I'm actually going to hand it off to Joe. Like, I'm not automating anything today. We are fully going to be Joe's going to be showing off how Finsweet invoices. I'm not going to touch my broken keyboard today. So that's really exciting. I think the last thing here, and I think before we jump in, and I'm really excited to jump in, is I think what I've seen Finsweet as well is that it's not only been a shift in terms of invoicing, it's like this thought process of like no code is kind of the future, right? This ability to build applications, to build tools. Webflow design agency as being a start. You recently announced that you're not going to do any design work anymore, only implementation. And I think you want to build scalable processes, of which no code is like the back end of your own agency. So maybe talk a little bit about how you see the future of using no code, whether internally at Finsweet or even offering it up as something your agency does externally.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We're very deep in the no code space, but also we are very code based. We have a lot of technical developers, a lot of people that are JavaScript driven on our team that don't even know the no code tools. They've never stepped foot in any of them. So my favorite part about no code is combining these two worlds, combining the no code side and the code side. And to be honest, I don't know if I would understand Zapier as much or understand Airtable as much if I didn't have that code side of knowledge.
Right.
So we are trying to use no code tools with the mentality of knowing code. And I think that's when we can take the no code tools to the next level, whether it be Airtable, whether it be Webflow, whether it be Zapier, Parabola, any of these. We are going to be using them more and more. Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Let's jump in. So
Cool.
a little bit of magic here. I'm going to try. This is the first time we're having, so everyone, hey, Wolf, hey, John, hey, Kyle Lovell, excited to have you here. Let me know in the chat if you're excited. I am going to do, for the first time ever on the stream, absolutely petrified of doing this, okay, we should see Joe, we should see me, and if all goes well here, let me just, boom, and then we should see Joe's screen. There you go. Automate
Nice.
Finsweet. So
Okay.
let me know in the chat if you can see this. I'm not doing anything. I'm actually going to take a little pina colada, just listen to Joe talk about his base. So Joe is now sharing, the base out of which his whole team manages invoicing. Awesome. It works. Whoop, whoop. This is great. This is so much more chill. I don't actually need to do anything. I can watch as an attendee. So Joe, we usually on Automate All the Things, as you know, start with base structure. So talk us through this base, how it's structured, and then kind of what are the automations and how does this base work?
Sure. So we are using Airtable, Zapier, and Google Drive. Those are the primary components for this flow of information. Getting onto the base, we have 3 tables here: invoices, clients, and invoice payment methods. This is exactly from our setup at Finsweet. It is identical. And this is how we like to manage the information. We have a list of our clients. It has their name, their contact, their preferred payment. That's all we need for our clients. Our invoice payment system is a list of all the payments that the payment types that we can accept. This is for pre-filling information in the invoice, which is a really important component for me. Something that didn't work for Wave, that didn't work for PayPal. There was no automatic pre-fill of information based on that client's information. So these are working together. Yeah, please.
So essentially, I need to start using my hands here. You essentially have a structure of which a client has a certain type of payment methods, right? So maybe PayPal, whatever they use. Where do you keep kind of that client invoice? Like, what information do you need to put on that invoice? Where do you keep that information?
The invoice information?
So
that would be in invoices.
Okay. So it's you just associate a client to an invoice payment method, so
Yes.
whether they're using TransferWise, and then everything around the invoice happens in the invoice table.
Exactly. Okay, and now the invoice table. This is the juicy one. This is where all the magic happens.
Okay.
We first have the invoice ID, which I'm not covering invoice ID. I'm thinking of something else. Hold on. All right. We have our sent, we have our paid, we have our client.
Right.
We have a list of services. We have whether it's project or hourly. We have the total amount on the invoice.
Mm-hmm.
We have the date created. And date created is actually going to be something that generates our key. It's going to generate a unique invoice number. And we'll get to that soon. But date created is important. There's a reason for the time here. We have payment type. And payment type can be first 50%, second 50%, single payment, or custom. And every single one of our projects will fall into one of these. Usually a full project is going first 50, second 50.
Right.
The key to this is it's going to auto-generate the content for the invoice based on what you select here. So the payment terms are generated from your selection here. If it's something random or custom, or hey, can we make 5 payments over 2 weeks? We can go and add that in custom.
I'm sure you enjoy that. I'm sure you love those custom payments.
They're my favorite, of course.
I want to,
Yes.
I'm kind of relating folks to, okay, like what we talked about when we were building this, I remember, is that like you take your current invoice or your ideal invoice and then you break it apart into pieces and you place those pieces into the right table, right? So let's say your invoice starts with client information, right? So then you're putting client information in your client table, but to pull that information into your invoice, you associate the invoice to the right client. That way you're not inputting client information every time you need to write a new invoice. Let's say you, as Joe, has this concept of like payment type, right? Maybe your payment is extremely complex and it needs a separate table. In most cases, your payment can live as a single select. So what we had done, if my memory serves me right, is like taking the invoice and saying, okay, this goes into this table, goes into that table. And that way in the invoice table, although some links exist, you have all of the information to generate the invoice automatically. Does that map correctly to how you remember us doing this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Okay, yeah. Sorry. It's so weird for me to be on the stream and not do it, like not actually building. So continue.
Sure. Okay. So we have our generate invoice button. And this one is directly pulled from an automate all the things stream. This used to be a checkbox. That went into a different view. And then when it was in a new view, it then generated the invoice through Zapier. That ended up not working when you need to regenerate the invoice. If you had to say, hey, we need to generate a new invoice, there was a bunch of wrong information for whatever reason, that was a pain in the ass to go do. So now with the button, we can just generate as much as we want. Yes, please.
So I'd love to know in the chat, can anyone guess what this button does? So it's like my favorite thing in the world. So let me know if anyone, I'm happy to like give a prize to whoever the first person in the chat lets us know. So essentially the reason, I remember I was going through this again, the reason you can't regenerate invoices in Zapier is that Zapier automations with Airtable are tied to a view, and you can only trigger an automation for one record in a view. So when a record enters a view, it can trigger a zap. If that record enters the view again, you cannot re-trigger. The key on Zapier's side is view plus record. So if it's the same record entering a view again, it will not trigger. The value here of webhooks, and we'll explain the automation in a moment. Got Colleen, Steve. Like, I find it kind of unfair. Of course, you guys remember that it's a webhook. Thanks for coming back to the stream. Even though every week is the same, send a webhook from Airtable. The webhook has kind of two general advantages. One is the fact that you can trigger it as many times as you want. And second, personally for me, I remember talking about this to you, is like you have to click. You have to actually know that you're clicking on generate invoice. And for some of these processes where you need like an approval, I like that user has to like click a button. So back to you, Joe.
Yes, we're clicking this button, and this is going to a Zapier webhook. We will cover this. We'll go over it when we go through the Zap. But that's exactly what's happening. Super simple, sending in the record ID. Okay, and when you go and click that button, a bunch of magic happens in Zapier, and we're going to get two URLs that show up right here. This is a live Google Docs URL, and this is an automatic download PDF of that Google Doc. I love this. We're going to cover it, and I want to show you how powerful Google Docs really are. I remember when we were setting this up, I tried to use the page designer in Airtable.
Right.
And the page designer worked, but it was not the one-click PDF that I was really, really passionate about. It was like one of the things that I needed. And I remember exploring Google Docs. I found the solution, and I will never look back. I think Google Docs with Zapier, with Airtable, is very underrated. So I'm excited to show that one.
I will take all feedback on Page Designer and forward it to the product team. I know there's a lot of it, but you're right that you could do a part of this on Page Designer. Page Designer is very independent. It doesn't speak to other applications. You can't create something in Page Designer and then send it to an email or something like that. So that's why we kind of went with the Zap and in Google templates almost, or Google Docs with a template.
And then we have the date paid. This is put in by accounting once it's paid. And then we have what I like to call display information for the PDF. We're bringing in the preferred pay, I don't know why this is doubled here, but the preferred pay. We have the invoice message details, which is automatically generated based on what you choose for the payment type. So you could see right here, we have things like this invoice represents the full payment of all services. This is a custom message.
Right.
This is the second payment and final 50%. It's always the same thing. So I want that to be in a formula. I want that to be automated.
Right.
And you also do have the option for custom. Okay, an invoice file name. This was the number one reason why Wave did not work. It drives me nuts when an invoice has the invoice number in the file name, and that's how you should go and identify that file.
Right.
This invoice number means nothing to somebody, to a person. It does when you go and enter it into a system and look for it, but to a real person, this information is so much more valuable. Our clients are receiving a Finsweet invoice in 2020 in October the 15th.
Right.
So you can look at this, you understand it, it makes sense. This is generated from this date created here.
Right.
So we have the date format, date created, and as long as you don't have the same invoice created within the same minute, it will always be unique.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that idea.
This is great.
I don't think a lot of people consider the name of the invoice to be crucial, but it sounds like for you, that was something that was critical. And like, you're right, as a client receiving like an invoice that is like 2867, I'm like, oh, what is this? Right. So I love that idea of being able to go that deep in the workflow and really be able to adjust each part of it to really map to how it is that you want that invoice to look. And I think, Joe, you're probably on the more like a little I don't want to use the word like obsessive over these things. And I think that speaks to your brand. I think if I've seen anything, like Finsweet they'll tell me when there are issues in my website that they've built that I don't frankly care about. And they're like, yeah, but this is 2 pixels off. So I think that speaks to you. There's a question from the chat. What happens if 2 invoices are created on the same date? I think you actually use the time to generate the invoice number that's unique. So the time is different. So unless it's in the same minute, it's okay. And by the way, if anyone types !base, you can go in and actually copy this template. Feel free to just use a command in the chat and get the base. And for folks watching later in the future, hello, it's in the description. Cool. Okay, so I think we have a good idea. Like, you've got each part. Anything else? Like, you've got the client name. That's where we're talking about. You're pulling that in. Record ID, invoice number.
Yep.
Cool. So are we?
That's
do you
it.
feel?
Yeah.
Let's show off. How do you actually create an invoice?
Absolutely. Okay. So first I'll show it working, and then we'll go and back up into the Zap and go check it out. So if I want to go and send this company an invoice, I'm going to click Generate Invoice. We're sending off to a webhook. We have our record ID, and very shortly we're going to see 2 URLs in here. I'm also going to go and say, hey, this is about to be sent to the client. We're good here.
Awesome.
And there we go. So this one was just created. I changed the order, but if I go and open up this Google Doc, I'm now going to have a Google Doc with all the information that I need. I have the invoice number, I have the date, I have the company name, I have a list of the services, the total cost. Haha, okay, something, before there was, There was two payment details and I deleted
Right.
one. I must have
You
deleted the one here.
That's
But
okay.
we'll relink that in Zapier. No
This is
problem.
so enjoyable to see someone else mess up on the stream. How does it feel, Joe?
Yep.
How's your heart?
You know what? It feels good because this is about to be a learning experience. I like
I
it.
say that
I'm
too
ready.
to make myself feel better. That's awesome. It's actually fun. I agree with folks who come to the stream to see. What I want to what I love about this automation is that it's extremely. Let's say you have the client email and you feel comfortable sending it off directly in the Zap. You can do that, right? So you can send off that invoice. You can add your branding. You can do whatever it is that you want for that invoice to be completely unique for you. That name was super important. The fact that it was a PDF, but you wanted to send it manually. I remember us discussing that as well. So I kind of love this. So let's go into the Zap. And I'd love for you to start by explaining to folks what a webhook is.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So let's go right into here. We have the Zap. First, I'll do just an overview of all the steps here. We're doing the webhook. We're going to catch a hook. We're going to use the information from that hook to find a record in Airtable. Then we're going to find or create a folder in Google Drive. We're going to format our numbers to make sure that it's readable as a money amount. Then we're going to create a Google Doc from a template in Google Docs. And then we're going to update our Airtable record to make sure that these come right back here.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's jump right up here to the catch hook. All right. So
what is a webhook, Joe? Tell us what
is a webhook? A webhook is going to send information to a app. That's the most simple way that I think about it. It's when you go and visit a URL or you send something to a URL, you can add information to it. That system, that app is ready to accept that information. And based on what you put in that URL, in addition to the base URL, you can then go and pass information to that system or app.
Yeah.
That's the most simple way that I like to think of it.
Yeah.
And this is a wonderful use case. Yeah. Any questions? Any comments on that?
Okay. No, I love it. I'm
good.
I'm hand signaling here my enjoyment for how you explain webhooks.
Good. So we are catching a hook and we have a custom webhook URL. I would go and copy this, and right here in the button, you can see, that we have the base of this right here. What I just copied is right here. We're going to add a query to it with our record ID in Airtable, and it's going to be the value of our record ID. So when we go and click on this link, as we know, it opens up this, what looks like a cryptic message. That is passing in our Airtable ID for that record. And now Zapier knows, okay, we now have this in our stream of information. Now we can go and use this somewhere else. And we are using it right here. So we are going to find our record in Airtable. And that is directly from our query string record ID. There we go. Yep. That's right from our webhook. Yep. Cool.
So I want to just quickly, so folks always ask at this point, why don't you just pass all of the values in the webhook? And this is, again, a preference for me, and we were chatting about this, is that I like that idea of that Zapier is the place of logic, right? So I don't want to pass, I want people who want to ever edit this to be able to go into Zapier, not have to finically change that formula. So that's why I always recommend passing the query string, as a query string, the record ID, and not all of the values that you want to then use. And then in the next step, you actually kind of use that the fact that you found the record to do that. There's a question from Wolf that I'll get to in a moment, which is how to add line items in the invoice. So we'll do that after, and after we've built the Zap.
Okay, so we have found our record at this point. The record ID is good. We have it. Now we can use all of the information from that record. And what we're going to do is look for a folder with that client's name in it. And here, let me hold on one second. I really do want to show this.
You want to show how to show a Google Drive folder?
Yes.
You're the boss of the stream, man. You show us what you want to show us. There we go.
Here we go. This is it.
Nice.
So we have our folders, and this is our invoicing master folder. And inside, each client has their own folder. So when a client has another invoice or another invoice or another one, it all goes in their folder. This is our template. This is what this template looks like here in Google Docs. So what we're doing in Zapier is looking for that folder. Have we invoiced this client before? Yes or no? If that folder does not exist, it's the first time we're sending an invoice, we're going to create a new one.
I like that.
If it exists, it's going to choose that folder, and it's just going to continue adding docs in it. So you can go to any of your clients and say, let's look at all the invoices we've ever sent to that client if you wanted to do that inside Google Drive.
Very cool.
Cool. All right. And now we do need a step with formatting the numbers. And by default, Zapier is going to take our 15,000 and take out that comma. So what we're doing is we are passing in this total amount field. It's going to be period, decimal mark, and comma for grouping, period for decimal. That's going to make it dollar friendly.
Another example of your obsessiveness, because I personally, I would never, but this is why you do what you do. And this is, so I love it. Well, I love the obsession around it.
This numbers formatting only came into place 2 or 3 months ago.
Okay.
And I actually added it because I had a feeling that the finance people that we were sending this to would have a problem with that. If you talk to anybody in accounting, they would go crazy if they don't see the correct formatting. So I did it for them. But yes, I'm sure they appreciate it. I was crazy to do that. I think they do. Okay, now we're going to create our document and fix our error from deleting that field. So we are going to grab our template document, and you can see that this is just a string of numbers. We can go and get that from our URL here. So I'm inside the template, there's no info here. And just before this edit, we have a long string of numbers. This is going to be put right here. So Google knows this is the template document that we're working with. New document name, my favorite part, Finsweet invoice with the date. Right. Yeah, you have a comment on that?
No, keep going. I got something to say, but I think you're going to cover it. So keep going here.
Okay. Folder for new document. This is the folder that we got a few steps ago saying, hey, this is the same client folder or a new client folder. Sharing preference options, doesn't matter. And then we have all of our variables that we have placed inside the template. So you see we have invoice number, date, company, services, total. All of these are going to show up in Zapier. Invoice number, company, date, services. And I'm just going right through and putting in all of our Airtable fields where they're supposed to. Our invoice number, the company, the date, the services, our formatted number, our notes, and our preferred payment, which we're going to change. So just to confirm, we have preferred pay, and I'm going to get this preferred paid here. Preferred.
So I know what's going on here. Do you want me to help
please.
Or no? Okay. So preferred pay is the linked record, right? So if you go into invoices, if you go to the table, preferred pay is the link. It is not the name of the preferred pay. So that's why it returns the record ID. So essentially when you link two records together and you're pulling information from the preferred pay, it's saying like, okay, this is the link of the two records. National Wire maps to a record ID, And so the reason there was another field that was just the same value, right, is that you want the name of the record, right? And so what this was doing, it was just a formula field that was like preferred pay name. But if we go back to Zapier, I think there's a few ways we can do this. So if you go to Zapier, so preferred pay, what values do we have here? So type in preferred. There we go. Preferred. What is preferred pay info?
That's the one I accidentally deleted when I was going through the table.
Oh,
I
okay.
think I'm going to try to undo what I did here.
Yeah. You can even do check in your base.
This is what we need.
There we go. Yeah, there you go. Preferred pay info. That's a lookup, and it brings in. So it's actually a lookup on the primary field, which is kind of weird, but totally fine. It still brings you into a linked record, but I think if you take the preferred pay info, you'll be okay. Yes. So you should be fine now.
Okay. So we are all locked in for preferred pay info. Okay, good. All right, so we have created the Google Doc. We have all of our variables in there. We're putting in the exact information. And also know that as a template in Google Docs, you can do any styling here. You can make this incredibly branded. We decided it's going to be plain, it's going to be simple, nothing. But if you really learn how to format and style a Google Doc, the options are endless here.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, nice. And now we'll close this and we're going to go and update this record in Airtable. Now we are going to go find this original record, the record that we're working with, and we are going to now go put in our Google Docs URL and our download PDF URL.
Right.
When you are using Google Docs, they give you a lot of options here. This is really, really powerful, all the things you can do with this. Mm-hmm. My favorite is the download PDF, which when you're in here, if you were to go and click this URL, opens up a new tab, and I am now going to be downloading a PDF in my browser, which is great.
Very cool.
So there we go.
Yeah, nice formatting there on the 20,000. That looks really good.
Yeah.
I'm happy there's a comma there.
Yep.
Big numbers require lots of commas. I didn't actually know you could do that. I didn't know that there was an output of the Google Docs step that lets you then, so some of the other outputs I just saw there was like last modified by who created, right? So things like that where you can see what the sharing levels are. So the output of that Google Doc is actually a ton of information, right? So we've got, a bunch of formats you can download it to, HTML, which I'm sure a bunch of people might want to play around with. This is really cool. I didn't know that. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And that's it. That is the full flow here.
Love it.
Yeah. This is the full system. And actually, I really want to just test this and make sure that our change here did work. So I'm going to go and I'm going to generate this and make sure.
I would say it's about 50-50 because you undid, right?
I undid.
You should be okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to go right and download PDF. Sometimes I don't even open up the Google Doc.
Right.
And when it just works.
You still got the record ID.
Come on.
So I think we can do this in a few ways. If you go into, I don't know if we want to be debugging this live because I'm very weary of making you look bad for debugging this live. So go into preferred pay info. It's a lookup field.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a lookup field, but you're not looking up the info.
Yeah. You don't. I don't know what. Yeah. I don't know how this happened, but this is
the wrong lookup.
Yes. This needs to be. No. This needs to be. Whoops. Oh no. Client.
So right now, I think what you need to do to restructure this a little bit is that your preferred payment is at the client level. Right. You need to, man, this guy knows.
Yeah.
This is not Joe's first. There we go.
Yeah. No. Ooh, this is a new UI info.
Yep. So I think you already have the preferred payment type linked, right? I'll let you
The
do this. I'll let you do it.
prefer.
Talk us through what you're thinking. What information do you
Yeah.
want there?
So I need to bring this text into this table.
Right. Okay.
And what I'd like to do here is to first get this payment info into our clients table because we already have a link from
Right.
our clients to this.
So do you have a link between clients and invoice payment methods already in your table?
Clients? Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just a question of looking up the info at. So you already have that link. You already
What?
have preferred
Yeah.
payment. So just create a lookup that pulls in invoice payment methods
Why am I doing a link? It's a lookup.
because you're on
Sorry.
stream. It's very stressful. It's a
Yeah.
very stressful
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
Joe. You know? So you already have
Okay.
preferred payment,
Preferred payment
and then you want to go and get the info.
and the info. Okay. And you know
Boom.
what? That is exactly what we need. So when we move this over, these are named a little bit differently than our
Right.
base, but we have it here. Okay. So this
So
is payment info. We have this
boom.
here, and now we can go and pull in this information from the right place.
Yep.
Bam. Okay.
There you go.
There we
That
go.
should work.
And that's already set up. So now we should just be able to generate this invoice. Generate this one too.
You're confident. You're a very confident man, Joe. I'm not as
I
confident.
feel good
as you.
about this. I feel good about this.
Okay, let's give it a look. Oh, it's gonna download. We have to wait. This is very stressful. All right,
There we go.
It worked.
Yeah.
All right.
We got the custom message. We got the payment details. We're good.
I wish we had set that up. So awesome. I think we can do a little success. We can do a little success right
Yeah.
there. I don't know if there we go. Oh no, the confetti goes over. Oh no. Let's do that again. We need confetti. Guys, this is on me. We can do that again. There we go. The confetti is now over. We're doing things live. We're doing that success again. Boom. Then we get the confetti. Awesome. So that was the first part of what I wanted to show you. And I do want to kind of, before we jump into the second part, which is showing this new app that you're building on top of Airtable, which, by the way, is amazing. I'm really excited to see it. Someone mentioned line items. So do you want to talk about line items, or do you want me to talk about line items?
I want you to talk about line items.
Okay, so of course I'm like excited again. My hands are. So essentially, there's kind of two ways of doing it. I think Joe, you're doing is like you input services and then you output a bill. If you were more standardized, right? So imagine you were kind of saying like, okay, consulting is always X, and Y product is cost $700. When you're thinking of standardization, you can create a new table which will be products, and then associate each invoice to a set of products, and either do a roll up of the cost, so your total amount isn't like a manual input as it is today, or you can also roll up the description of all of those services. So let's say website development consulting was a packaged product. You create a new table, you add website development, and then your total amount is a roll up of those values, and the text as well. Services would be either a lookup or a roll up with formatting of the description of what those services are. You can put some overrides, but essentially that's how you would do it if you are packaging certain products and have line items in your invoice. And again, this is what's cool is like you can start building really complex things, right? You could give discounts as a junction table. You can email clients automatically in their invoicing. And actually next week, I had done invoicing on Stripe a month ago. And next week, we've got, I think, Mark, the creator of Data Fetcher, Finsweet.io, which is a way to query APIs from Airtable, is going to show us how to pull in customers from Stripe into your Airtable base so you can identify whether someone's paid you. So right now your process is manual because your payments, I think you don't send payable invoices, folks wire you money. In the case where folks are sending Stripe invoices, and we did that in invoicing in Airtable, closing the loop, we're going to talk to Mark in a week where querying the Stripe API to pull in recent payments so that you can balance your payments with existing invoices. Again, super exciting, so super flexible. You can really expand. And I remember starting small. You were like, oh, we're just going to do this like for a couple clients and we might send invoices. And now your whole process is out of this, which is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. Okay.
Excited?
So do we go to the block now? I'm very excited.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So while I'm setting this up, which might go well and might not, tell me what is this app that you're building? Maybe talk about just Airtable apps in general, so folks are, what is an Airtable app, and then we'll talk about what your Airtable app does.
Sure. So this is an Airtable block, and this block is going to interact with information on your base, on your table.
One second, I gotta get it up. Tell folks what the app does while I'm setting
what this app
up.
does. Okay. This app is going to let you manage Webflow CMS from Airtable. So you can essentially use Airtable as your CMS for your Webflow website. It is going to send information from Airtable to Webflow. There's a publish button, and it's just like going in Webflow to make those updates. But if you spend your day in Airtable, you may want to make those updates to your site from Airtable. And we're doing more and more with Airtable. So it started out as this is something we need, and then it turned into a product for you. Yeah.
So this is my stream, right? Every week I show a different way of syncing Airtable to Webflow. For folks who are maybe not so familiar with Webflow, Webflow is a no-code website builder, if you will, but that has a CMS and is structured exactly like Airtables in the sense of you have fields, you input information. And so a lot of folks want to manage their information in Airtable, which is much more convenient, especially if you're not like doing anything except blogs. Airtable is a great place. Collaboration. I manage my website, AATT.io, exactly like this. And I have 20 ways of syncing Airtable to Webflow, but I feel like you're going to show me my new favorite way.
I hope so. And I'd like to add one more thing to that.
Sure.
You can do a lot more with Airtable than Webflow CMS. You can use formulas. You can use logic. You can do so many things. And I like to think that this block allows you to do those same things in Webflow. It's like a superpower add-on to Webflow.
Right.
All right, let's get right into it. So we are going to look at adding testimonials to our website because we are terrible at this at Finsweet. We have a ton of testimonials. They're sitting in Airtable and they just haven't made it onto our Webflow site. So we have our testimonials table, we have our services table, and then we have our project managers. We are going to mirror that setup inside Webflow CMS.
Dope.
So we have our clients, we have our project managers, and we have our services. We don't need to mirror the items. We need to mirror the fields. So we have a name and slug here. Here we have a name slug, profile photo. Clients, we have our testimonial, project duration, project manager, and services. This here is an option select in Webflow. This is a reference field, and this is a multi-reference field. We're going to watch all three of these work. Yeah,
I don't believe it.
The eyes.
I don't believe it. I don't know.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start testing each one of these tables to go send something new. So I'm going to go and add something new here. And Aron Cornblit, I think I spelled that
Terrible
right.
project manager. Just awful.
And Aron's headshot. Uploading.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go into, and also before I go through this UI of the block, this is not the final UI. It just works. So we have our project managers here. We have our Webflow API key already generated before the stream. We are choosing our Webflow website, Automate Finsweet. That is what this website is. We have our project manager's Webflow collection and our Airtable table of AF Project Manager. The benefit of using a block instead of the Airtable API is we're going to get a nice organized list of all the tables that we have here. So I can go inside my base and choose any of these. I can also go in my Webflow collection and choose any collection.
Right.
And then we're going to map field to field, just like if you were going to import information into Airtable or Webflow CMS, you need to map this information somehow. So we have our item ID, we have our name, our slug, and our profile photo. We'll look at adding more field mappings when we go to testimonials.
Right.
Data will be taken from Webflow or Airtable. You can sync one way or you can sync the other way.
Whoa.
The way that we're positioned. Yeah.
I've never seen this, by
way.
the way. This is my first time I'm seeing this. This is huge. So the reason, so sorry, because the initial sync is really painful.
Yes.
Right. So that idea, I you know, people are like flipping out on the stream, which is exciting.
Nice.
I remember the amount of times I was like, oh, God damn it, I need to download the CSV out of Webflow and then import it into Airtable. But I've already got a structure, that ability to like initially just be like, I've got my mapping, boom. Okay, cool. Keep going. I'm excited.
And that what you described it as is exactly what we're going for. We're going to update this UI so that publish to Webflow is the primary call to action. And then it's, hey, are you getting started? Go from Webflow to Airtable. That's exactly what we built it for.
Right.
We also have periodic sync, which I'm not going to test now, but you can automatically go and make sure this is updated. The only requirement is that you have the browser open. So as long as you have your Chrome browser open, we can go and run this every 30 seconds, minutes, 5 minutes, whatever.
Right.
All right. So data will be taken from Airtable. I'm going to save and sync. We're going to see Aron show up inside our Webflow.
Huge. No way.
Cool. Process synchronization complete. So now I need to go and refresh here.
The stressful moment. This is the worst because it refreshes to your page. I'm sure the Webflow people just do this to stress me out.
There we go.
It's huge. That's honestly huge.
And you will see stage to publish here. You will be able to create a live item. So you will have the option to say, hey, this should be staged for publish, or this should go and be pushed on the Webflow site immediately.
Right.
And there we go. We have the profile photo. We have the custom slug. We have the name. We didn't choose. We'll look at the reference collections when we get to the clients, but this is working. We have just sent a record here. Very cool.
That's so cool. I have a few questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
Again, first time I'm seeing this. Are you thinking, so when I think of like how I do it, I get to a point in my workflow where like, okay, these are the records that need to be synced, right? So I'll give you the example of like, after the stream, I'm going to move the stream to done, and only streams that are done need to be synced. Are you going to kind of have an ability to only sync a view, which is a subset of my records that need to have that sync in place? My greenfield recommendation.
Yeah. There's a few little things that we're doing right now, and one of them is draft.
Okay, got it. That makes sense.
Being able to go and push that to Webflow and draft. It seems that there's a problem with the Webflow API to go and do that, but we are going to figure it out. Don't worry. Yes, it's not just going to be like a whole, you're all in.
Right.
So, yes,
that's great. That's awesome. That'd be awesome. And I think the draft is a really good potential workaround, or the limitation to a view in Airtable, right? So if I know that it's getting published, it's okay if I limit anything that doesn't need to be published in Airtable. And I think that's definitely possible. But then you won't have a necessary one-to-one sync at the table level. You'll have it at the view level, but you can create like a Oh, you already have an item ID. It passes back the item ID.
Yeah, automatically.
Oh, amazing. Okay, so you can tell which
Automatically.
ones. Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And even if you go from Airtable to Webflow, we're automatically going to fill Airtable in with the Webflow ID.
Amazing. What am I going to stream, Joe? What am I going to talk about on my stream after this? Like, what if I can't sync Webflow to Airtable? What does my stream
It's
become?
over. Automate
It's
all
over.
the things is done. Yeah,
It's done.
this is
I
the
don't think
last
we're going to do
episode.
this again.
Well, I mean, hopefully we can have a couple of episodes showing how powerful this can be to do crazy stuff in Airtable and then go and display it in Webflow.
But Joe, I gotta say, like I've done this horse. I've been this like if I can't sync Webflow to Airtable, but you are right. Once we don't have to worry about how to sync, we can do the automate all the things too, which will be what do you do once it's synced,
Yeah.
right? So what?
Absolutely.
I've got to change my whole mindset here.
Okay, nice. Let's go and create a new testimonial. So this is going to be Corn Bros.
It's my pseudonym.
Cornco Bros. You are fantastic. Thanks. And let's do 12 plus months. This is a select inside Airtable. We're going to now do a multi-reference. So I'll do some business consultation, SEO. Let's go and hit custom solution. And
People are very excited. Multi-reference. People are it's a very big moment here on the stream.
And now we're going to choose our new project manager, Aron. Great. Okay, so we're ready to rock here. The only requirement to fill in is the name. Right. Nothing else matters. So we have our name, we're good.
That's a good, we're going to call this stream Nothing Else Matters, because once this is done, nothing else really matters. Let's do it.
Nice. Okay, we have our key from before. And this key, once you enter it, you're good. You're not going to have to continue entering it.
Right.
We have our clients, we have our testimonials. We are linking all of our fields here. Notice as we go and add a new field mapping, we have all of our Webflow CMS fields here, even the ones that are not very accessible, like updated by. We have our Airtable information.
Folks can't see it because it's I'm sharing the browser, but essentially if you select one as an example, just to show folks once it's selected what it looks like.
Okay, yes.
Don't worry, just delete it after. So essentially we can't see the picker, but it brings in every single field from Airtable and every single field from Webflow, so you can map them on type.
And with this multi-reference, you can choose services. You can go and choose this reference. So we have a 2-level here to make sure you're choosing the right reference. Okay, great.
Got it. Okay, perfect.
So we are good to go here. Let's go and save and sync this. So we are processing.
I love it.
And we are ready to rock.
I love that. I love the fact that it tells you which ones were created, which errors. Yeah, I love the ad too. While you're waiting, check out other Nobull product. I love it. I love everything about this.
And now let's go refresh this Webflow site, and we are supposed to see Corn Bros managed by Aron with a whole bunch of services and 12 plus months.
Huge.
Oh. We're in here. We have our clients. Corn Bros. You're fantastic. 12 plus months. Aron. And we have the multi-reference. So this is working. This works. And also
giving it a success. We're dropping the success.
It works equally for updating. So if I were to go and let's say change Aron, and I'm now going to be the manager, I'll take off the SEO. Aron was not doing a good job here. And now
I'm not a project manager. What do you want me to do? What do you expect, Joe? I told you.
Let's save and sync, and we'll see me now as the project manager without an SEO service. You can see none are created, none are deleted. And as we go and refresh this, we will see it.
This is huge. And I'm excited, but I know that the vast majority of people who like are super excited about this are probably on the stream, right? And that like, or will be watching it shortly. So I'm this is amazing. Yeah. And yeah, there you go. I got replaced. Huge. I don't know what else to say.
Cool. Great. I'm glad you like it. And
Oh man.
of course, the power is now you have an updated testimonial list. Look, we have all of this information right on our Webflow site. You can go push the live item when we launch, and you have the testimonial ready to go live. Fantastic.
Yeah. Amazing. I have so many use.
Nice.
Frankly, there's actually testimonials that I don't upload to Webflow because I'm too lazy. I'm
Yeah.
too lazy to build the automation. I know how to do it. I have a stream that is dedicated to building automations of syncing Webflow to Airtable. And there are 3 or 4 of just like, I can't be bothered of writing that code. And then, so this is like super exciting.
It's a difficult process.
Yeah, it's a pain. It's a pain. There's
Yeah.
a whole stream dedicated to solving it.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, tell me a little bit about what the people are asking about pricing. Ethan, I love my job. I don't need a new job, but I will have much more free time on my hands now. So if anyone has stream ideas, I'm open to them. What I have a lot of questions. So what, like, so you're gonna, it's called Nobull app on Airtable. Do you have like visions of syncing to other things that are like near and dear to the Webflow community? Is it what's your vision for this?
Yeah. This, as 2 weeks ago, this was called Nobull Connect, with the idea to connect your databases.
Right.
And it was recently renamed to Nobull Block. And it's called Nobull Block because this is going to be our Airtable block that we can add on and add on and add on to.
Cool.
The only thing is that it has to be Webflow. If it's another platform, we do not care about it. Right. So this block right now, it's for syncing information. Maybe it's for some other process. I don't have that process right now, but we renamed it block with the intention of adding onto it and doing more with this block in Airtable.
So when Joe says block, he means app. We rename blocks to apps.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's apps.
How long ago was this?
This was a couple months ago. Everything is apps.
I thought it's called the Block SDK.
It is called the Block SDK, but it is the app.
Okay. So this is no longer called Nobull Block.
It's called Nobull app. I have to be as someone third name. Yeah. We're in the process of, I think the SDK itself still refers to the word block, but all blocks are now apps.
Okay.
But doesn't matter. Everything else is the same. It's just a name change.
Yeah.
Right. So your Airtable app has apps in it. So it's apps on apps on apps. Right.
Yes.
So what you're saying is that Webflow, whatever Webflow and Airtable functionality you want to build on top, whether it's syncing, or maybe it's going to be that like syncing without having the block open and things like that, right? So you can imagine you saving that information on your end, and that's going to be here. You're not going to imagine like to Shopify or other things. This is really about Airtable to Webflow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely. And something I can see this app growing into is forms. Being able to send form data from Webflow over to Airtable.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah, like why rely on Zap?
Yeah.
If I've got this, I don't need. Sorry, that was a whole moment of my headphones breaking, but I was subtle. Yeah, because why build the Zap, right? So if you know that the only thing you're going to use Airtable for is that CMS syncing, you're right that there's the form submission. There's probably a bunch of things we haven't thought of that you can build for that integration. If Webflow e-commerce Is that something like that's on your roadmap at all, or no?
We've actually never built a full e-commerce site. We've done
One
little
second, I can't
tiny
hear you.
e-commerce
Hopefully, folks can hear
integrations.
you.
Uh,
No, it's on me. It's on me. Can you hear me?
okay. I can hear you. Yeah.
I think folks can hear you. I just can't hear you. Just give me a second.
Okay. Yeah.
This is
Webflow hosted form. Yes. Webflow hosted form, Airtable, Webflow CMS. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is, yeah, we actually have the specs already done for that. That is going to be in development in 2021.
Awesome.
Okay, do you have any plans to link up Nobull app with your CMS library using Webflow? I don't know a use case to be able to do that. If you share a use case of why you would want that, I can tell you if we may do that. Yes, less tools needed to get the job done. Absolutely. Nice.
Your CMS, isn't that so you mean to like the whole base to the whole CMS collection? So when someone says to link up the Nobull app with your CMS library, what do they mean?
That's our JavaScript library. That's a JavaScript library for filtering, sorting,
right.
Combining elements, sliders, tabs.
Right.
Yeah, that doesn't have any actual relation to Webflow CMS. It works with Webflow CMS, but it's not using the CMS API. It is completely front end. So I don't see a relation there. But if you can come up with one and it makes sense, we may do it.
Yeah, you've got one more question, which is,
Yes.
Does Nobull CMS have the filtering criteria of Nobull Filter? And I think my understanding is that that's independent, right? So Nobull Filter lives on Webflow, and this is just a way of piping information from Airtable to Webflow.
Yes, they are different things. And now even I'm confused with all the naming now that we have to rename block and we have the CMS. So yes, this is hooked up to Webflow CMS. You will be able to use our new Nobull filter with this Airtable app. and yes, those do go together. Nobull CMS, that is not what we looked at right now. That is a standalone CMS. Completely separate from Webflow CMS. And that will actually let you use Airtable to directly display information on your Webflow hosted site, independent of Webflow CMS. That's a powerful one.
Directly from Airtable to the website, no hosting in Webflow CMS.
Well, we're requiring people to have hosting. We have a very good relationship.
I didn't mean but the information lives in Airtable and you change it and it updates.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not related to Webflow CMS. It is being served directly from Airtable.
Is that why you think that's valuable?
There's a lot of reasons. Actually, 100% of our enterprise level clients need this functionality.
Right.
One of the reasons could be more than 10,000 items.
Right.
Another big reason is linking multiple websites to one another.
Right.
Let's take our videos that we do at Finsweet. We have all different videos. Some of them should live on certain sites or not other sites, or we should have a library with everything.
Right.
That would be so difficult to manage from all the different builds that we have. The CMS library to Lotiflow to the scroll bar style, everything. That would be a mess. So here we can have all of our videos in Airtable and selectively route which websites will get which information.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a way to create one CMS and then put it on whatever Webflow build that you want.
The website you send to becomes an input in your kind of super CMS in the backend. So you're saying this table goes to this website, that table or even this record goes to that website, and take this record and send it to multiple websites. And then, Joe, this is it. I'm going to have that, and then I'm going to have like sync to Webflow, and then just like a button that sends to YouTube, and like a button that says go live on Twitch. And I'm not actually going to have to do any of that ever again. But then what are we going to stream, right? I come back to like, if I have no challenges we're going to have to just come on and chat. It's going to become like a very chilled podcast, where we just
we're making it too easy,
right? What we do with all our free time. I already knit. Like I'm just gonna knit all day, do these bad boys all day. I don't know.
Well, I
Awesome.
like to think that when there are tools that make your job more efficient and you don't have to spend time in certain areas, you then have the opportunity to explore other areas. So you may not know what you're going to do now, but you now have a fresh 30 minutes on every single stream to do something new and unique and different. That's
I
great.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. So I think there's still some questions. How can folks reach you if they have questions? Like, what's the best? Should they tweet at you? What is the best way to reach you? Some folks have questions around member stack. I feel like you're probably going to have a couple months before it's out to talk about that. So where can folks ask those questions, and where can folks stay updated relative to anything Finsweet?
You can wait a few weeks as we're setting up our official mailing system. And if you do need to get to us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube comments, if we're on social, you can go and message us and we are going to respond. So
Cool.
any platform that you're on, send us a message.
Awesome. For folks who are new to the stream, make sure to follow. This is my YouTube moment. In Twitch, for those who are familiar, when you follow, you get notified when I go live, which will happen again next week, next Wednesday, 6 p.m. And then in December, we're going to start doing base design every Wednesday. I'm probably going to add a second slot. Hit me up with your ideas. We're definitely going to be doing some Nobull app and other automations now that we have more time. With that, Joe, huge thanks, by the way. This has been super entertaining. You always deliver in a big way, whatever you're doing. So that's always exciting. I truly appreciate everything you do for Automate All the Things and generally for the community. So truly appreciate that and everything. So any parting words before we go?
Well, I want to say thanks to everybody who is here watching right now. Really appreciate you being here. Mm-hmm. I see you and thank you. And right. Aron, I hope I get invited again to do another stream.
Man,
I'm pumped. This was great.
Every week?
I'm ready.
Every week. Let's do it. Every week. We've got things to automate. Huge thanks to everyone who's joining. See you next week. And if not, see you on Twitter or wherever you find me. And thanks again, Joe. We're going to close this down. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks, Glenn. Thanks, Colleen, Ethan, John. Appreciate all of you coming and hope to see you soon enough. All right. Bye, folks. Have a good one. Bye, Wolf.